Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and this is my week in books, tarot, and a tiny bit of art. It's actually, I think, the last 2 weeks, but I've been working 2 jobs the last 2 weeks, so I haven't gotten the things done that I usually get done. And I meant to record this yesterday, and then too many other things happened. So I'm really hoping to get it done today. We'll see how that goes. Okay, let's start with the Goth Lit November adjacent stuff, because that's what I'm most excited about. I say adjacent because some of the stuff I'm reading is, I guess things you could say are influenced by Gothic literature that aren't Gothic literature. Like, I don't know that this was a good book, Night Shadows by Eva Bjorg, Aegis Daughter. I don't know that Nordic noir falls strictly under the Gothic umbrella, but it wouldn't exist without the Gothic umbrella. And I really like Aegis Daughter. I'm on the 4th book in this series now, and I will definitely order the 5th one. Yeah, that's gonna happen. And then I listened to the book, The Girl in the you know, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. It's in that series. It's The Girl with Ice in Her Veins by Karen Smirnoff. And it was so-so. It was, like, the premise was really interesting. I think it could have gone a lot of interesting places, and it just didn't. And Salander and Bloomquist are the sort of flagship characters, and they just didn't feel like them. They were like different characters with those names and did weird things and like out of character things. And I understand characters changing over. I think this is book 8. But if you want them to do something different by the end of book 8, you have to get them there somehow. You can't Game of Thrones it and expect me to go for it. So that didn't really do it for me. I wanted to like it, but I was too often bored, which I don't know how you make those characters boring. I don't. It just, I wanted it to be good. And then I reread Dracula by Bram Stoker because Rachel made me do it. And I'd read it before and had been a bit annoyed by all the, oh, I may faint, and the men being just a little, let's just say sexist. I get that it was the time and everything. I think it was written in the late 1800s, but sometimes you just want to give some of them a good smack. Knock some sense into them. But I listened to it. I listened to the audiobook. Again, I got it from the library. And like some of the characters, so Mina is the best character, far and away. There's no, like, nobody close to her as far as interesting characters go. She's definitely my favorite. It basically could have been her story. It was a fun story. I liked the story and the different journeys the characters go on, but sometimes some of the characters still annoy me. Like Van Helsing and Quincy, who is the American, they were all right. They were kind of interesting and sometimes sensible. Arthur and Jonathan were sometimes just dunces. And you just wanted to knock some sense into them, or just let Mina do it. Just, you know, sit down and read a book and let her handle everything. Oh, because sometimes they were just, they tried. They did stupid things that just got annoying. But anyway, so I liked it better the second time around. And then I listened to The Tainted Cup, which is a fantasy mystery, which I'd never read anything like that before. And it was kind of interesting. I guess, I don't know. I have limited interest in fantasy. Like, I love The Lord of the Rings. I loved Harry Potter before the author went right off the deep end. Became, you know, a junior high internet bully. But so there are some fantasy series that I've really liked. I've got to read more of the Discworld series. I do want to read more of that one because I like the sarcasm. Big fan of that. But sometimes fantasy just is not my cup of tea, which, you know, is fun. But as fantasy books go, I think it was pretty good. It was an interesting sort of mystery. So if you like fantasy worlds and mysteries, this might be just the thing. I think it was pretty well written. The characters were interesting and everything. So, yeah, I don't know that I think there are more. I think it's become a series now. I don't know that I'll read them, but who knows. Then I listened to Confessions by Kanae Minato, because the Three Girls One Deck crew are doing a book club. I can't remember when that's happening. In the next couple of weeks sometime, I think. I can't keep track of anything in my head. But they're doing a YouTube book club live thing at some point someday. Anyway, it was weird. It was good question mark. I liked parts of it. It sort of it got a little repetitive because it repeated the same series of events from different people's points of view, which for the first 2 or 3 was fine, but by the end it was getting a bit like, yeah, we done this before. So I don't know. The story itself was quite interesting, and the premise was it's a disconcerting book. So I don't know, like, am I glad I read it? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'd probably try something else by this particular author. We'll see. And then I listened to, so the great courses have, I mean, they've got a gazillion, good speaking. I can do this. They've got a ton of lecture series on all sorts of topics, and some of them are on biblical history. I think they had one on Jewish thought as well, or Judaism and Christianity and world religions and all sorts. So I read one of them called The Story of the Bible by Luke Timothy Johnson, which is about how the Bible got assembled. And it was a pretty good, it was well balanced between the history of the Jewish folks who compiled the Hebrew Bible, and then Christians who compiled the New Testament and then sort of recompiled the Hebrew Bible, well, sort of took it over, and then the Jewish folks who reacted to that. So that was interesting, and it's just, I mean, I grew up with a fundamentalist group of folks who considered it univocal, like all one voice and all inspired by God and infallible, couldn't make a mistake, none of which is true and all of which is very boring. So once you ditch those, like, adherence to those really rigid dogmas, the story of how it got put together is actually kind of fascinating. I mean, I am a geek, so there's that. So it might not be fascinating to everybody, but I found it quite interesting. And then I listened to The Bible Says So by Dan McClellan. This is going just brilliantly. I'm sorry. The Bible Says So. I can't remember what the subtitle is, but basically he takes a lot of the things that people say, the Bible says that abortion is wrong, or the Bible says that homosexuality is an abomination, or, you know, whatever, different things. And then he dives into what it actually says, which is not always the same thing. Shockingly, the internet is often incorrect. There's a world of difference between the propaganda of the church and the actual biblical scholarship. And at least the community I grew up in, there's a world of difference. And with, like, Christian nationalism and this sort of extremist politics going on right now in the States, it's bananas. And only getting worse. So that was really interesting. I've been listening to his Data Over Dogma podcast with Dan Beecher, and it's so good. I love that podcast. They're very no nonsense. They're a lot of fun to listen to. Like, they really do seem to enjoy the podcast, and so they're just having a chat, answering questions, and it's a brilliant podcast. And then I read Jesus and John Wayne: How White Evangelicals Corrupted a Faith and Fractured a Nation. And this is largely American focused, and I'm Canadian, but the community I grew up in was very heavily influenced by American fundamentalism and evangelicalism, which are not quite the same thing, but there's a fair bit of overlap. So this was interesting because I kind of knew everything up until about 2005, which is when I sort of was like, you know what, I think I'm out now. See ya. Or not. And so I've been really out of touch with certain, like, trends and who's popular on the speaking circuit and sort of who's since then. So it was everything up to then I was really familiar with, so that was not news to me. Everything after that was kind of interesting to get up to date on the nonsense. It was annoying and a little bit stressful, but it was interesting. So that's that. And then what else? Okay, so I've got some art books here. I might as well go into this because they're in front of me and they're massive. I've been doing, which way is up? This way is up. You can't really tell, but that's the set of the opera that I was doing the titles for. So Art Prof has a figure, they've got a bunch of drawing tracks where you can sort of do your own education, but then they've got videos that match and assignments that you can do, and so this sort of thing. So they've got one for figure drawing and anatomy, and then they've got one for portraits. And I'm doing the figure drawing one with somebody else who was busy the last few weeks. So I veered off slightly into the portrait drawing one, which I am appallingly bad at. Okay, so let's keep the bar on the floor for this, because I've never drawn faces before. I think in my last video I showed a few that were like the first ones I've ever drawn since I was a little kid. So I was doing, when I was listening to that podcast, I just did a whole bunch of these guys, and they don't really look like them because I don't really know what I'm doing yet, but this one's kind of okay. The camera can't focus on it. Oh, that's fun. What else? I did a couple and then did some like brush pen ones, and so this was just in between when I was waiting for my second job to start, so I needed something to do. That's what I was doing. And then at home I had gotten, I can't remember if I talked about this book last time, but I got the Atlas of Beauty, Women of the World in 500 Portraits, which is, oh, I don't know what it sounds like. It's just a whole bunch of portraits with a little blurb about who they are and where they're from, and so that's handy. And then I got this book. This is secondhand, and it weighs a metric ton. This is the National Geographic Women book. It's huge. But it's got a ton of, hang on, I'm gonna take this thing off because I'm gonna make a mess of it while I'm trying to hold this up. But it's got all of these famous portraits of women from many, many decades of National Geographic, and some of them are just gorgeous. And it's women from all around the world. So this will be a lot of fun to use as a reference, I think. It does have a few controversial ones. Ooh, here's Tatiana Burke. I like her. Like that girl who's now a woman in Afghanistan with the green eyes, that one. It's good. I think that's actually on the cover. Yeah, this one. Oh, and then there's Jane Goodall with her chimpanzee friend. So it's got a lot of like classic, really well known, sorry, my hair's in my way, driving me nuts. What was I saying? Yeah, famous portraits all over the world. Very interesting. Might use that as a reference. Oh, it's so heavy though. And then I got a couple books out from the library. One is Kathy Kollwitz. Kollwitz? I don't know. She was German. She did some sculpture and she did some paintings, but her drawings are my favorite thing. They're just so powerful. This was like during and after the Second World War, I think, is around about when she was working. So she's not super contemporary, but so good. And everything was so punchy. She doesn't hold anything back. And so there's some paintings in here, but yeah, I think the drawings are, well, I don't think, they are definitely my favorite. I mean, I do think occasionally. So yeah, I'm really enjoying her work at the moment. And then I got this from the library, which has to go back today, which is Expressionism, a Revolution in German Art, which I got because they're, oh, things are falling apart in my living room, sorry. Because I liked some of the expressionists, but I don't know enough. I don't know much about them. So this is, who is this? August Mack. I like this one. That's cool. Like just the shapes of it. And here, this person, Eric Heckel. I'm probably not saying any of these names correctly. Even though I have a German last name, that does not mean I can pronounce German last names. So apologies in advance. I've seen this one before, but I hadn't seen his other stuff and didn't know much about him. So sorry for the crinkling. It's a library book, so it's got that laminated cover dust jacket thing. This is Carl Schmidt Rottluff. And this was the early 1900s, and I like these landscapes a lot. That works for me. I don't know. There's just something about it that I get somehow. I can't explain it though. Who else was interesting? Emil Nold or Nolde? I don't know. These I do like landscapes. Tend to be the thing I like the most. Although Kathy Kollwitz did mostly portraits, I think. Ooh, I like this one too. Ooh, it's so heavy. There, this one is excellent. I love it. I love the movement, the choppiness of it. And then it gets into, oh yeah, it gets into Kandinsky, of course. When it starts to get more, I mean, it was never realistic, but it gets more and more abstract as you go. Who is this? Jawlensky. I never know how to say that dude's name. But he's got some interesting stuff too. I think he was at the same time as, sort of the same time frame as Kandinsky, I think. Could be mistaken. I'm not an art historian. I'm just a hobbyist. So that massive book took up some of my time the last couple of weeks, and I think that's mostly the book and art situation. Is that everything? I think that's everything. And then for tarot, I was using, which one is this? This is the Heartwood. I had yeah, this is the Heartwood. In a moment where I got my Okesh and Thorn decks. What they called? 2 trees, 3 trees? I can't remember. See, I have a terrible memory and it should never be relied upon. And I don't have the box with me, but I love Adam Oehler's artwork. So beautiful. So I was using that, and then I was using this botanical, what is this deck called? Oh, I can't remember. It's this one that most people have seen, I think. The Plants and the Witchiness, and Christopher Penczak did the book. I should have written down what things were called before I started, but I didn't, so whoops. Oh well. Anyway, I really like this one for like fall and winter time. So those were what I was using this week, and then I got, did I show this last time? I got the Deadly Apothecary Oracle. So I was having a day at work one day, and got a couple of decks, and one of them was this one, which is super fun, and I haven't used it yet. It's still in order because I want to read through the guidebook, and some of them, like Water Hemlock, I'm familiar with. Don't mess with that one. It'll kill you, and it's got to be one of the most unpleasant deaths by poison I've ever heard of. Water Hemlock. But some of them, like, why isn't this focusing? Come on, camera. Oh well, Black Hellebore is what it is. And so like that one I haven't read much about at all. Angel's Trumpet. What's this? Baneberry. Ooh, we have Baneberry here. This looks like white bane. Is this white Baneberry? No, it's got blueberries. Anyway, the one where I live is red Baneberry. And it can also kill you right quick, but it'll just give you a heart attack. It's not like Water Hemlock, which will disassemble you from the inside. And then the other deck I got came from France. It's a secondhand deck. It's that Le Tarot Celtique. And it has been on my list for a while. You have to get it secondhand because it's out of print, but it's around and about. And I found a copy that wasn't too outrageously expensive, which was lovely. I mean, it was the cost of an indie deck, but not a $200 one, you know. So, but the guidebook is pretty good. Things falling apart slightly. This is just the little belt that goes around the cards that somebody had been using as a bookmark in the book. But it's got all these figures from Celtic mythology. I don't know how accurate and reliable this author is, L. Tuan. I have no idea. They studied, according to the back, Sanskrit and Asian religions, parapsychology, civilizations, and esotericism. They were involved with the secrets of the tarot, Egyptian tarot, and something else. It trails away. I don't know if that was intentional. Anyway, so none of that screams knowledge of Celtic mythology, but who knows? So the cards they're all in French, which is fine, because I can read the keywords, both upright and reversed. I can read most of those. Some of the names they're names of different plants and animals and figures, mythological figures, that sometimes I know in French and sometimes I don't. If I put it in order, yeah, I think it is in order. Yeah, it's in order, but backwards. So here's Lugh is the magician. So like some figures like that I can figure out, but some I'll have to look up. Like this is the Morrigan, I assume. Damon, Morrigan, Demona. I'd never heard the name Demona before. And I had thought it was more crows and ravens rather than stag, but I don't know, maybe I'll learn something. Anyway, I wanted to try it. I like the size, I like the design of it. The illustrations are beautiful, and it's got a lot of keywords and whatnot, and so I will learn. Like this is the, ooh, which card is this? 56, or no, 59. What is that? I don't know. So some of them I'll have to figure out which is, like, what's what. Because I don't know which card is the 59th, but this one is Holly for some reason. So I may or may not use it like traditional tarot if I can't be bothered to figure out what number 59 is. I may just use the plant and the keywords and the images, but that's fine. So anyway, that's exciting. And then I wasn't planning on getting this, but I was at a used bookstore yesterday, and this was there on sale, the Shakespeare Oracle. And I wasn't going to get it because I didn't want to pay out of print prices for it. But since I got it at the secondhand bookshop, it's quite fun. The majors are all characters from different plays, except for the magician, which is, of course, Shakespeare. That tracks. There are a couple I've looked at so far and gone, not entirely sure, like, which one the abbess is. Yeah, okay. The High Priestess. Queen Elizabeth is the Empress. That kind of works. The Emperor is Henry VIII. Also kind of works. Which one did I look at and go? Not sure. Caliban is the Hermit. That's so fine. Catherine and Patricia are Strength. You know, that's interesting. I can deal with that. Hangman is Hamlet. Death is King Lear. Oh, this one. Prospero was Temperance. Not sure I really get that, but I'll read the guidebook and see. The Devil is Puck. That works. So, like, some of them I go, yeah, okay, I get it. And then some of them I can't remember, like Timon of Athens. I read it years ago. I don't remember what it's about, except I seem to recall quite a lot of violence. So I guess for the Tower that works. Cleopatra is the Star. Ooh, the Three Witches of the Moon. That's fun. So yeah, this is my, oh, and then all the minors have these little quotes from different, I don't know if it's going to focus. Possibly not. from different plays. Some of them, again, I haven't gone through all of them, but looking at some of them, I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like the Three of Quills this is clearly swords because it's Give Sorrow words. And the Two of Quills or swords is to be or not to be, which also works. So like, yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of like it. There might be some quibbles I have with certain choices, but that's all gonna happen probably for every deck to do with books unless I make my own one day. Is that everything? I think that's everything. That was my last 2 weeks, so this was a bit of a longer video because I didn't have the time or the energy to record last weekend. But I will get back to my Goth Lit November reading right now. If you want to join in, I'll leave I'll put the hashtag below and you can check out Rachel and Bailey's videos on it. It's super fun and I highly recommend it. It's very low pressure and a good reading adventure. So if you do decide to do that and you want to post anything about it, tag me and let me know. I'd love to get other book ideas because my TBR is not big enough. That was sarcasm. Anyway, I'm gonna go get back to my books now. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.